I was kicked out as a teen due to false rumors spread by my brother. My parents later saw my success and demanded money after abandoning me years earlier. When my parents noticed my accomplishments and demanded money after they left me, I reflected on how I was kicked out as a teen because of false rumors spread by my brother. I am a 28-year-old female with a twin brother, Liam. Liam and I grew up getting somewhat different treatment from our parents. As the so-called black sheep, my parents really appeared convinced, for some reason, that my brother was destined for brilliance, while I was more interested in sports or hanging out with friends than in academics. Their continuous comparisons demoralized me and damaged my self-esteem. I was treated like an afterthought when I was a child, having to watch my brother throw lavish birthday celebrations with friends while I was never even allowed to bring guests back to our house. He frequently slept over with them. To be really honest, I hated every minute of my youth. My grandma seemed to be the only family member who really gave me any thought. She always brought my preferred chocolates and sometimes dropped a few bucks to me so I could treat myself later when she visited us. This obvious preference for my twin brother evolved over the years into emotional abuse aimed at me. My parents would publicly criticize my hobbies and academics. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't seem to satisfy their ideal of the perfect child. Though I excelled in athletics, they forbade me from engaging in extracurricular activities since they wanted me to focus exclusively on schoolwork, exactly like my brother. It was annoying, and as a little child, I felt powerless. Later in my sophomore year, I was grounded once again. This time the crime was having Snapchat on my phone. Like most teenagers my age, I had done absolutely nothing wrong except download this app to keep in touch with my buddies. But since my parents had prevented me from talking with my pals, this was a major offense and a betrayal of their trust, according to my parents. They went bats hit insane on me, dumped all of my stuff around the room, then removed the doors from their hinges and informed me I would have no privacy as long as I lived under their roof. Seeing my parents treat me this way, my identical brother, Liam, made my life worse instead of helping me. Our parents' unfair behavior produced a poisonous environment that let him take advantage of the circumstances. He started lying about me, accusing me of things I'd never done so he might get away with everything. Should he steal something, he would easily point the finger at me, and my parents, already inclined to view me negatively, easily accepted his falsehoods. He would make fun of my appearance and belittle me in front of my schoolmates. Still, I had a large group of friends at school because I was friendly and open about forming relationships. But my twin, an introvert, felt uncomfortable and started to hate that I could interact with people. This jealousy peaked at our 14th birthday celebration when no one came up for his birthday. While in sharp contrast, my friends took me for ice cream, and I had an overall great day. I have no idea why his friends did that to him. This enraged my brother still more. For retribution, Liam started spreading false accusations about me at school, presenting me as a spoiled child. Since our parents liked him more, he misled everyone by saying I was physically mistreating him at home. I had no idea he went to such a terrible degree. He would punch himself carefully, causing injuries like a black eye or bruised shoulder, in order to create evidence. He would boldly enter school the next day showing the self-inflicted injuries as evidence of my claimed brutality and create stories. Whenever our parents asked him about them, he would lie, claiming that his injuries were from innocent sports like football with pals. People started to trust his twisted view of events as the lies and his claimed black eyes gained momentum. Whispers soon spread, and even my friends started to glance at me with mistrust. I first observed minute changes. People who used to converse with me in the halls suddenly started to fade. Invitations to group hangouts started to get fewer and more spaced apart. People hesitated to be around the apparently spoiled girl accused of aggression, as if a switch had been turned off. One day, I plucked up the bravery to ask my former best friend why our relationship had deteriorated. She talked about how my twin brother had been spreading gossip about me. She exposed the detailed lies he had told everyone, accusing me of things I had never done. Hearing her say this startled me. The sensation was one of mistrust mixed with incredulity, as though the ground under me had collapsed. Someone I grew up with, my own brother, was fabricating stories about me, accusing me of doing things I would never have even considered. That was a devastating betrayal that left me with a knot in my gut and a weighty heart. The day I addressed Liam at school, he chose to ignore me. When I urged him to stop lying about me, he grinned at me and told me I deserved to rot alone. His falsehoods and actions were beginning to worry me. Thus, I found it difficult to express myself. Though I wanted to talk to my parents, I worried they would view my brother over me, particularly considering that I had always been open to befriending others. The isolation pained me. The lies, driven by jealousy from my brother, seemed to be destroying the relationships I had developed over years. Teachers, too, started to become caught in the rumors. It was a dreamlike sensation, as though I were living in a parallel universe in which the evil narrative woven by my twin eclipsed my actual self. The lies were influencing people's actual impressions of me, not only teenage chatter. They had evolved beyond simple gossip. The terrible news soon got to my principal, and suddenly my worst nightmare materialized. The principal called my brother and me, along with our parents, straight into his office to go over these supposed rumors. Heart-thumping, I sat there as the principal insisted on addressing the situation. Though I expected my brother would at last come clean, he doubled down on the lies. He told the principal straightforwardly that indeed the allegations were accurate and characterized me as a bully who roamed about physically assaulting him while our parents were not around. Shock flooded over me. I found it hard to believe my brother kept telling this twisted tale about how I was furious at him for getting more attention from our parents. Though it was all lies, he stuck to his tale like glue. Hearing Liam's tale, my mother started to cry. She grabbed onto my brother as if he were some sort of hero, telling him that he was brave to speak up and ensuring him nothing would ever happen to him again. My dad sought to console him. That day, I tried to defend myself by begging the principal that everything was made up. Desperate to swim to the top, I felt as though I was drowning in a sea of accusations. Yet my brother persisted in saying that I was this furious, aggressive person venting daily on him. As my mother clutched onto my brother, my tears kept flowing, and I started to see accusing stares. It was like battling a wall of belief in my brother's invented narrative, saying the school didn't accept bullying and that these were reasons to punish me. My principal chastised me severely. I begged him not to suspend me, but he shook his head, declaring he couldn't let this slip. Tears running down my face, I begged him to understand that I hadn't harmed my brother. The principal insisted that I would be suspended for 10 days so that others may learn from this never to bully anyone. It really hit me, and I started crying even more, almost begging him to think twice. Furious and ashamed of the overall state of affairs, my parents hauled me from the principal's office. I refused to go, but they weren't understanding what I intended to provide as my argument. We left the institution, my heart weighed with shame and frustration. Things changed dramatically when we arrived home. Out of the blue, my dad started packing my stuff. Startled and perplexed, I had no idea what was occurring. When my mother questioned him what he was doing, he simply yelled that he could not allow my brother to live in the same house anymore. I begged my brother to give them the truth, almost on my knees, but he stayed frigid, unmoved by my tears. After finishing packing, my dad dumped the luggage into our foyer. Still pleading with my dad not to kick me out, I grabbed onto his legs. "A bully like you doesn't deserve to dwell in this house," he told me, adding he would ask his mother, my grandma, to come fetch me if she wanted. The world seemed to have collapsed under my feet. Surrounded by my stuff strewn in the foyer, booted out of my own house, I stood there shocked. My grandmother did show up finally. She helped me get into the passenger side by gathering all my stuff and arranging it in the car. Before approaching my parents' front door, she checked to be sure I had on my seatbelt. She rang the doorbell, then started to shout at my dad for treating me this way when he opened it. She cautioned him sternly that she would not hesitate to engage the police or CPS if he ever approached me or tried to get in touch once more, since what he had done to a child like me may eventually land him in prison. Trying to avoid responsibility, my mother said it was my fault, but my grandmother wasn't having it at all, emphasizing that I was only a young child who didn't deserve to be abused in such a merciless way. My grandmother stood her ground, defending me. I had never felt so protected. She trusted me instead of cowering before my parents. We finally left my house, the only place I had ever grown up in, behind us. It is impossible for me to adequately describe how intolerable the suffering I went through during that period was. Though my grandma begged me to, I recall simply crying on the bed and not eating anything. She was likewise startled when I told her what my brother had done. She told me she believed my side of the story, and it made me glad at least one person had my back. Once the 10 days of suspension ended, the idea of going back to school was like stepping back into a lion's den. As I walked into the known hallways, the faces of my fellow students told volumes. Judgment, murmurs, and sidelong glances. The weight of the unfounded charges hung in the air. My brother, meantime, deliberately disregarded me and behaved as though I didn't exist. A few people who saw him as the victim of my assaults and agreed with his side of the story had grown friends with him. No matter how hard I attempted to present my side of the narrative to anyone, it was ignored. I was an outsider, labeled unfairly, a shadow that followed me wherever I went: the classroom, the cafeteria, the hallways. The eyes that locked with mine were contemptuous and mistrustful. I started to go alone. I would keep my head down, show up for every class, have lunch by myself in the cafeteria, and head straight home. I had no friends, and it seemed as though everyone just didn't want me there. Throughout all this, my parents never once phoned to see how I was doing. My grandma would tell me again and over that life would finally be good and that this was not my fault. Having decent marks when I graduated from high school, I was looking forward to college, where maybe I would have a better life. I first felt what freedom felt like only when I left for college. Nobody was looking over my shoulder, no one was comparing my marks, and no one was trying to challenge me. For the first time, I ran into like-minded folks and developed friendships with them. Though my family and peers had caused emotional and physical scars over the years, I focused on putting it all behind me and savoring this collegiate experience as much as I could. It was around this period that I developed my flair for content writing. Though I had always wanted to be a writer, I chose to give up on my ambition as I wasn't sure whether it would be long-term viable. But I decided to start freelancing and writing in order to pick up some side money. Signing up on several freelancing platforms helped me land work from well-known companies. I began gradually compiling a portfolio of my works this way. I kept this side project throughout college and never approached my parents for one penny. Upon my college graduation, instead of landing a corporate job, I discovered I could work full-time in content writing. The several clients and long-term professional ties I had with them led to them roping me into several initiatives of theirs, thereby enabling me to be doing rather well. Having a respectable freelancing profession allowed me to travel the globe as a digital nomad in addition to making me financially independent. Though it was certainly not easy, traveling helped me heal from the past. I grabbed as much as I could and gambled on myself. I have seen so much of the globe throughout the years, yet I still have so much to see. My grandma was the only member of my family I thought about all through all this. I really loved her. When I moved out, my grandmother was quite depressed, yet she knew I had to be independent on my own. Though I have a busy schedule, I would make it a point to be with her whenever I could on the weekends. I would go see her, usually sitting on the porch or enjoying meals together, lost in talks ranging from childhood stories to more current events. On weekends, I would spend whole days assisting my grandmother with housework or taking her for a leisurely stroll to the neighborhood park. Lately, I finished one of the most significant assignments of my career. Though I cannot name the brand, I was quite fortunate to create blogs and product descriptions for them. Following the assignment, I asked the team I collaborated with to offer me favorable feedback on my website, which they were more than glad to do. Knowing working with this brand was a big deal, I grabbed screenshots of some of their evaluations to publish on Instagram. As predicted, many additional content creators contacted me to celebrate my professional achievement and even shared my story to help spread the word. This is how I began receiving messages from random people needing assistance with their websites. Some of my family also spotted this and contacted me to congratulate me. Eventually, the principal of my former high school got in touch. Seeing that I was doing so well, he had gotten in touch with me and asked me to visit the school for a lecture to discuss career paths as a content writer with students. Though I struggle with public speaking and was really anxious, I decided to take a chance and consented. My life seemed to have gone full circle when I stood before expectant faces, imparting my knowledge and views. In my lecture, I discussed the difficulties I encountered and how I persevered in spite of many demanding days. Empowering others and helping the writers' community flourish was, quite honestly, a really rewarding experience. As individuals related to several of my clips, they began to go popular on Facebook groups. Being at last appreciated for my effort felt fantastic. I received an invitation to speak on a local news station last week. The presentation highlighted the advantages of content writing, and they asked me to share with their viewers my path and observations. Though a little anxious, the chance excited me. I discussed my experiences, the value of client feedback, and how a little thank you note might create amazing possibilities during the show. The chance to inspire more people in the profession and appeal to a larger audience humbled and excited me. I also posted some of these snippets on Instagram when it eventually aired, as I felt honored to be asked to a TV show. My cousins and extended family first began learning about my work performance this way. You see, my parents had no knowledge that I was working with well-known businesses and receiving invites to TV shows, as they never discussed me with anybody. This is how rapidly information got out inside my family. I suppose this TV interview must have at last made sense to my parents. A few days later, I was working on another job and found my phone on silent. When I checked my phone after finishing my work, I found 6 missed calls from my mother. Surprised, seeing her name on my phone truly startled me, since it had been a long time since she had phoned me. After all those years of quiet, I couldn't understand why she was phoning. I hesitated, then called her back, and she picked up right away. When I asked her if everything was good, my mother started praising me. My dad, who was apparently sitting right there with my mother, also joined in the conversation. He began asking about my life and well-being, and I responded without much thinking. It wasn't odd until they started asking how much I was making these days. My dad interjected that we were family, thus I shouldn't be shy about sharing my salary with them. Since it was none of their concern, I merely assured him I was doing financially really well. Hearing this, my mother started to explain how difficult their life was these days. My brows wrinkled with mistrust. Here is essentially our conversation's general flow. Mom, we have been wishing to remodel the house for some time. We are retired now, though, and we have no savings left. Its shape is not ideal. Me. Okay, Mom, we have hope since your success. Having seen your TV interview today, we reason perhaps you could assist us by covering the renovation's cost. Dad, we are family, first of all. You should not hesitate to forward some of your income to us. We truly need your assistance. Me. Are you teasing me? Having not even spoken with you for years, why are you requesting money? While I appreciate the congratulations, I am not going to assist you in any capacity. I wonder what motivated you to get in touch with me. Hearing this, my mother began to remark how I should be appreciative and that I should help them as family. My dad also said that this was the least I could do since my parents deserved to be looked after. I wanted to give them a piece of my mind, since I was so offended at this. I thought suddenly of something. Rather than merely fighting with them, I chose to teach them a lesson for a lifetime. Since mistreating me all those years ago now caused them to want to leech off me, I informed my parents I would be ready to assist them solely if they agreed to my request. My dad asked me, perplexed, what it was. I immediately set out my demand. If they sought my assistance, they had to openly acknowledge in front of our family and friends that Liam was the brains behind the nasty allegations damaging my name, and that they were wrong to believe him and kick me out. I wanted them to own their actions and admit the suffering they had caused. Hearing my impossible condition, my dad started to doubt the need of such an admittance. I stood my ground even though my mother informed me that this was all pretty pointless and that we could have a private conversation apart from others. This condition was non-negotiable. That was what any help they sought for in the future required. My dad spoke up as the tension grew, stressing his part as my father and underlining that it was my obligation to assist my needy family, emphasizing the years they had spent raising me, my mom, in a last-ditch effort, urged me to act morally and assist them. Their abrupt appeal struck me as ironic. I reminded them of the past, of the fact they had kicked me out, and of the fact my grandmother had reared me, not they. They were increasingly restless, but I firmly reminded them that if they want to approach me and ask for my financial help going forward, then the truth had to be admitted publicly, and my brother had to face repercussions for his deeds. My folks have been calling me nonstop since our chat, but I'm avoiding their calls. Even phoning them back that day makes me regret it. If I did nothing at all to assist my parents, would I really be in the wrong? A week later, things have been a whirlwind, and the help and encouragement I have been getting from everyone has been overwhelming. Knowing that I'm not alone during this period makes me hopeful. After all they have gone through, I am happy everyone feels I should not interact with my parents or even think about helping them out. I knew it was quite almost impossible for them to do, hence I even set them such a condition. Though they might have discovered by now that it was all his lies, I know they will never put my brother through what they put me through. They love him too much. After my parents once more tried to get in touch with me today, my brother sent me a nasty text message because I ignored their calls. He composed this. Hey sis, I can tell you every day without you in my life has been fantastic. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Mom and Dad contacted you from what I heard, and you gave them an insane directive. You know they are never going to follow through on it. They will never do anything to damage me, and most obviously, they never loved you. Although I did lie about you 15 years ago, it has been a long time since then, so cease being so self-serving and attempt to let go of the past. You are childless and single anyway, so why would you not want to assist them with house repairs and renovation? Act morally and be a better daughter. Seeing the letter felt as though it were a stab to the chest. His lack of empathy was evident in the boldness to discount the hardships I had gone through and the conditions I had established. Emphasizing my single and childless status, the effort to guilt-trip me added still another degree of insensitivity. Not only was his implication that I should put their needs ahead of my own well-being objectionable, but it also underlined how little he considered me. Frustrated and driven by a deep need for justice, I determined it was time to intervene and expose the truth buried for too long. Sitting down to send an email to my parents and close relatives, I shared the terrible facts of my life and the unfair treatment I had suffered in my family house. In the email, I detailed how my parents treated me differently from my twin brother and the rigorous and repressive environment I had lived under. The email also explored the damaging and wholly false rumor my brother had disseminated about me in school, which had resulted in serious repercussions and damaged my name. I wrote on how my parents had kicked me out to the curb and how, had it not been for my grandma, by now I may have been dead in the streets. Toward the end, I encouraged everyone to read a note my brother had emailed me. I included a screen grab showing him owning up to lying about me. It was an unambiguous confession meant to reveal the lies that had lasted far too long. I wrote the email just an hour ago. Once my parents and brother see it, all hell will explode. I will let you know next on how my family responds to my email. Over the next month, as you might imagine, a lot of things transpired. My family erupted upon getting the email. Relatives who were earlier ignorant of the degree of favoritism and emotional abuse criticized my parents. Many of the family members contacted me, apologizing for not being there for me and stating they had no idea about all this. After my brother and dad sent me a torrent of text messages beginning to get increasingly violent and nasty, I decided to contact a lawyer. She sent a notice of cease and desist. It essentially advised them not to get in touch with me anymore, and that should they do so, they would suffer severe legal repercussions. Given they ceased getting in touch, I suppose this must have terrified them. My grandmother supports me 100%, since she believes I've done the right thing by informing everyone what occurred. She is the only person that counts to me. Hence, I'm happy she has my back. 2 months have passed since my last update. For now, I am glad to say that all in my life is running smoothly. Professionally, my content writing business has been doing great. The offers to present at podcasts and seminars keep coming in, therefore confirming my reputation as a valued professional in my field of work. I am now as near to my grandmother as ever. Recently, I took a 1-week vacation from work so I could spend some time with her. These days she enjoys gardening and taught me a lot about different herbs and flowers in her yard. My best and most treasured memories are the times I spend with her, sharing meals, deep talks, or just hanging around. I'm glad my family is keeping away from me, since they haven't contacted me since the letter my attorney sent them. Since I personally started attending therapy, hopefully, I can work on mending myself. Right now, I believe this will be the last update.